well, I dabble in this at home. It's like, you do sound engineering, you're a podcaster. Let's get you one. Let's have you operate a boom mic.
Sure. Real quick, and from the acting, because these guys are filmmakers up here. I'm just an actor. But from the acting standpoint too. So in Hollywood, when I first started acting at 21 years old, it took me a long time before I got a gig. You know, I was throwing people out of bars. So now, and then I had to wait to get my SAG card, and I had to get a union gig, and you had to get Taft-Hartley. It was a process, right? Now you have the opportunity. You want to be an actor, you can go to some of these independent films, some of these crowdfunding. You can get your tape. You may have to donate a little bit to the project, but that's part of the thing. But I work with a lot of people that funded. Desert Fiends is totally crowdfunded. I think we raised $200,000 to do the first movie, and a lot of people wanted to. One of the perks was to get killed by Leatherface, right? So all these people wanted to be in it, and we made sure they get some lines in it because you need tape.
Yep.
You need tape on yourself. So unless you want to move to Hollywood or you want to move to Atlanta, you want to go to New York and you want to go through that process, it's a quicker way to get tape on yourself. So once you do a few projects and you got it under your belt and you've experienced what it's like to be on a set, you know, there's many opportunities, and it's a lot better if you're starting out in this business, unless you have the opportunity to go to Hollywood, to jump into an independent film.
Yeah, because I can't say, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, but the first time you're on like an actual set, and you're like, wait, I'm here for 12, 13, 14 hours? Like that's the whole day. Like there's a lot going on. It's like, didn't we just shoot the scene? Yeah, but we didn't shoot it from this angle. Then we have to shoot it from the close-up. And then a plane went by, so we have to reshoot it all over again. Like, if you haven't done it, if you haven't been on a set, you don't know how complicated it is. And some people who are like, yeah, I really want to be in a movie, I want to act. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been on a set and I was like, hey, you looking for extras? It's like, nope.
It's not easy. It's just not that easy, especially in the bigger cities when you're doing gigs. So it's a really, really, really good avenue for anybody we're talking about. But for actors, for filmmakers, for people working DPs, the cameras. It's a great way to learn about the business and cut your chops, as we say.
I also think that there's an advantage to not being in a major city, because if you're not fighting that fight where everybody you meet has the same goal and you're all trying to get to the same place, trying to all get the same brass ring, it gets monotonous and it gets nasty out there sometimes. I find that one of the things that was really refreshing for me when I was traveling around the country doing different film festivals was meeting people from smaller markets who were like, yeah, I have this job during the day, but like we can go down the street, my friend's gonna give us this barn, or we're gonna go get this property for free, and people just wanna help out, they just wanna be a part of the process. You get a lot more of that type of attitude versus like, in LA, the minute they see a film truck pull up on a street, all the weed whackers come out. Everybody starts weed whacking their lawns because they're gonna get paid off by locations to stop weed whacking for the day.
It'll give you $1,000.
Yeah, please just shut up. And you don't get that type of, or it's going to cost you
Permits.
$5,000 a day to rent a house like we had to do for one of our sets. It was like ridiculous. But then you find out some independent film that doesn't have anybody who's ever worked on anything before is getting all these perks like free cop cars and free cars for people in the town that just want to help out. There's something about that community aspect that can be, for an independent filmmaker, the base you can stand upon to say, if you do get a little bit of money, you can spend it in things, you can spend it on the things that count, and the things that you can save a ton of money on will be because your community is supporting you, and that will elevate you, and then you don't have to pay the prices of Los Angeles and New York, and go through those rigmaroles. It's just really just a community coming together around a project.
Where did you film your movies?
I filmed out in LA, but we got out to San Bernardino and found an abandoned camp that we didn't have to pay for, and so we would just shoot up there every weekend with a group of kids that I all got jobs on the movie that I was on. I got like PA and coordinator gigs, and then every Friday we would get in a van and I would drive them up, get an Airbnb, and shoot in the woods where nobody would find us.
It's called guerrilla shooting, folks.
Yep.
Guerrilla shooting.
Yeah, and again, like that's part of it. And speaking on the community part, like Ashley and I, we direct and we write our own stuff, but It's like, hey, I need somebody to do craft service. Yeah, we'll come down. We just helped somebody out. You know, he gave us 2 parts each in his short that he's doing. And we went and like, yeah, we'll come down, we'll help you out. We get down there, he's like, yeah, I'm my crew. She jumped on script supervisor, I jumped on the camera and the boom mic, and it's like, yeah, you can't act, direct, and you know, run the camera at the same time. Like, yeah, that's not what we're here for. And other times you will see the occasional like, yeah, I'm an actor, I'll be in my trailer with, you know, and make sure my trailer is 2 stories and that an albino orphan leaves a trail of white rose petals so I know which way.
Albino orphan.
Yeah.
It's a word you will not hear very often.
Yeah.
Here's real quick, and I hate interrupting everybody, but you want to look at like long legs. That's what Oz Perkins, right?
Yep.
So not a big budget to make that movie, but guess who's up to direct the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Because that movie he did got so much publicity, and now he's in the running that they're going to do another Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which will be a big budget next year. And he's one of the guys that's up for the running to do it. If you look at a movie like, which I'm not a big fan of, but it did well, like In a Violent Nature, very small cast, you know, they did it very cheaply. They got a part 2 and they got a part 3 coming out now with bigger budgets. So you never know who's going to watch that movie you made and what's going to happen.
That actually rolls right into a follow-up question.
Did you get the questions beforehand?
I didn't know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of indie films over the years that people would not realize are independent. Prime examples I would throw out there right away would be Halloween, was an independent film, as well as Evil Dead 2. Given the relationship between indie and Hollywood these days, do you think those films would be easier to make in 2025 or harder to make?
I think it depends on the studio. Like, I think there are certain studios that would be more willing to take a chance on something like that, like an A24, Blumhouse, you know, one of those types of studios, because they put out a lot of really interesting stuff, or even some of the like, what was it, movie that did The Substance?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not who I expected to have put out that movie with that cast. You know, so there are certain times that, you know, you can look at something like, wow, I can't believe this got made. And other times you're like, I can't believe this got made. But I think now, where you have certain studios that, again, specialize in this type of stuff, because they also do a lot of like the foreign stuff, like, you know, Deep House and, you know, the Super Deep and Platform, like all that type of independent horror you're seeing from, you know, even the streaming services like Netflix or Hulu, or, you know, Hulu putting out all the new Predator and Alien stuff. Like, I know it's also Disney, but where it's specifically Hulu that's playing it.
That's absolutely
No, it's not indie, but it's also not a big studio. It's not Warner Brothers. It's not, again, I know it's Disney, but it's a different animal, like, that you wouldn't see. Like, you wouldn't see, you know, back in the day, like, oh, NBC presents, you know, Evil Dead 3, you know, you're not going to see that. But I think today you have a better chance because there's also a better class of people with experience, you know, growing up on the stuff that was independent, knowing how, like, everybody knows, you know, how Rocco Team did the effects for The Thing, and, you know, growing up watching, you know, everything that, you know, Stan Winston did, and you see all this stuff, like, even Terminator's kind of an indie film.
Yeah.
First Terminator.
The first Terminator,
It was
yeah.
independent.
It's a sci-fi slasher, yeah.
It definitely is.
We're in the same school of thought. Though.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's all the people that are making films now. You know, it's part of the reason why, like, there's so much Star Wars and so much Marvel content, and, like, there's so much attention to detail to that. The initial wave of the Marvel stuff, because these are the people who grew up being bullied for being nerds for liking comic books. Now all of a sudden they're in a position where it's like, hey, we can make a movie about a raccoon in a tree and it's gonna be fucking successful. you know? I think, yeah, so yes, long story short, yes, I think that's.
Are you talking about the Crack Coon, that movie?
No.
No, sorry. That was another independent movie. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I don't think you could have made Crack-Coon in 1978. Although they
think
did
that
make
was
Frog somehow, which I don't know how the fuck that movie got made. Anyway, I think the big defining factor for today's independent filmmaker is the technology. It's so much more accessible. You can film something on your phone. It doesn't have to look beautiful now. Like there was a time when, you know, prosumer market was getting to the point where we were shooting 1080 and we were shooting in 4K. And when we were making the first Never Hike Alone, that was really the cusp of those types of, you know, that type of equipment becoming available to independent filmmakers and us using that to our advantage to create something that looks way bigger than it actually is. That looks more expensive than it actually is. Back in 1978, to go out and rent a camera, to buy all that film, to go through the process, to get it cut, hand cutting, you know, to cut a film, you actually had to cut on film and have all this specialized, expensive equipment that would be the barrier between a filmmaker and their passion. And now you can get a Photoshop, you know, an Adobe, you know, Premiere subscription. You can go get DaVinci Resolve, color everything yourself, shoot it on your iPhone, or get a DSLR, or you know, prosumer cameras that shoot like cinematic quality with cinematic glass are only a few $1,000s away. For someone who's putting their money away and saving up and spending the right resources or raising money to rent that equipment, that barrier isn't there anymore. So we have the equipment and we have the tools. Like we used when the drones were first coming out, we didn't have a sky crane, we didn't have a big techno crane that could go in the air, but we could pedestal up and down with a drone that made it look like we had it. We could recreate what the big studios use on a much smaller scale, and that is the key of an independent filmmaker, is how can you recreate what takes them millions of dollars to do for a fraction of that cost? And that's why the independent market today is getting bigger and better, because we can go out and achieve those things, unlike filmmakers of the 70s and the 80s and the 90s who had to go out and get equipment that we just couldn't afford.
I crave that type of filmmaking. I think Hollywood has oversaturated cinematography and everyone wants art house bullshit. And I crave that greatness that you got from like the early Jason films and the Halloween and, you know, just kind of going out there with a camera. I'm a huge John Waters fan. So I don't want pretty, I want real, I want practical effects, I want fake blood up the wazoo, you know, like I want real. I don't want CGI crap. I don't want any of this bullshit. And I think that a lot of other people crave it too. I think the CGI movement of the early 2000s, how good or bad it may have been, and now with AI being introduced, I think people are just craving simplicity. And I think that this is the way to go.
I personally love the Sasquatch AI stuff, but that's just me. I'm just teasing. All right, anyway, thank you. Yeah, and if you guys, if you have the money and you want to make a movie, just hire everybody up here and we'll come do it for you. I think that it's going to be very sustainable. I think that, like I said, there's so many avenues right now with streaming that they're looking for content. They are looking, hey, what do you got? Oh, wow, let's get it done. Here's a prime example. If you watch the documentary on the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and they borrowed money from a weed dealer, also that's a little behind the scenes, to get that thing made. But if you look at what they did, they make that movie, and it's cinematic history. It's a big deal. You can recreate that right now with not everybody dying on the set getting, heat exhaustion. And there's just so many avenues to make your own movie right now the way you want to make it. You don't, as Vincent and these guys were saying, you don't have the people that come down and say, no, we can't shoot that, sorry. We can't do that. There's no way that they're going to let that go. Well, when you make your own movie, everything goes. And then if someone, distributor comes in and says, we want that, if they want to make some cuts and changes, then you discuss that. But right now, the door is so wide open for you to make what you think. And it doesn't, you can say this is the craziest thing in the world. The only thing keeping you back is your imagination, right? It doesn't matter what the movie is. I mean, Vincent has done very well. He's done fan films, amongst all the other big stuff he's done, but his are fan films. And one of the first guys to do it, by the way. And then there's been you were. And there's a whole slew of other people now that have gotten into the fan film thing. But it's a tough thing. He'll raise the $350,000, and he's not really allowed to go make money. And you can't go, hey, we're going to go get a dish. We're going to go be in the movie theaters, because you're not allowed to do that. Would you explain a little bit about the fan films?
Yeah, when you do a fan film, it's got to be exclusive. I mean, it has to be non-exclusive. We have to release it for free. We have to make it for free. So we have to pre-sell everybody on the idea that they're coming around, being a part of that process, that by donating to the film, that by supporting the film, they're giving us the resources we can to complete it, and then everyone else is going to get to watch it. But the special thing about it is their name's going to be attached. They get to bring their friends into that screening of it, if it ends up screening somewhere close to them, or if it's going to premiere on YouTube. They're going to gather their friends around and make them watch the whole film and stick through the credits and wait for all the scroll to come up and be like, there's my name right there. And if they do something like become an associate producer, if they become a co-producer or an executive producer, their name goes on IMDb, and all of a sudden they're credited with creating something that's producing it. You create this really fan-engaged experience where they feel like they're a part of the process, which can also bleed over into independent original stuff too, which is the goal. I mean, Never Hike Alone was never originally built to go as big as it did, but what happened was I wanted to make a Friday the 13th film. I had a very clear vision of what I wanted Friday the 13th to be, and the studios couldn't make films. I couldn't get a job on those studios, so instead of waiting for Hollywood to turn around and give me a permission or give me an opportunity to do it, I created an opportunity for myself, took a risk on myself, put my own money into the first part, created something that resonated with people, and they were like, yes, this is what we've always asked for from Friday the 13th, but never got from the studios. And so then we were able to keep pushing that idea because that support kept going. Now the idea is, now let's do this with independent original stuff, and get people locked into an idea that they really like. Maybe it starts as a short film. Maybe you can raise $10,000 to get like a very specific concept. If you can execute that concept well, it gets a little, goes a little viral online, or you get enough people to back you to then maybe make a feature. It may take 2, 3, 4 years to build up all those resources, but that's what it takes. Filmmaking is about commitment, drive, and consistency. And things don't turn around very fast. If you look at Terrifier, that film series started in 2009. He made a short film, he did an anthology, he did 1, and then he did 2, and he didn't kick off until 2. And so you really have to stick it out, and that's really the secret of the business, is just keep going, keep moving forward, and use those advantages. And as far as like the fan film side of it, there's I can't go out and get that into distribution. I can't do that. I gotta do all that. But what's been really cool is it taught me self-distribution. Because we could create Blu-rays for the campaigns, I figured out where I can go to get Blu-rays made, where I can go to get VHS tapes and posters and shirts and all these cool things that we can sell at conventions.
VHS?
VHS tapes, which people love. We've sold vinyl. We have cassette tapes of our soundtracks. All these different things. It just opened up all these things that, again, you had to go through distribution to get these types of things for your movies. You don't have to do that anymore. You can do that for yourself and be your own self-sustaining thing. And I would say one of the cool things that you mentioned about, going back to that grainy grindhouse look is that it's funny, like, I was coming up when everybody was trying to see how we could use prosumer equipment to make it look like 4K beautiful stuff, and now that is regressing, where you're seeing more and more people working on DV camera tapes and working off tape and getting lo-fi in order to create stuff. The only thing I would say is, as a word of effect, is no matter how great or shitty the film quality is, by choice, always get a good sound person.
Yeah, sound is the main part.
Yes.
Sound is the one thing that you never go cheap on. That's like the one place you step on.
Yeah.
Never go cheap on sound.
There's nothing like working 2.5 weeks on a movie that you probably did for, in the independent world. I've done stuff where I haven't got paid, but I really believed in that guy and that project. And then when the sound is all screwed up, we're missing stuff. I'm like, what do you mean you're missing? And then the movie never comes out because they had a crappy sound guy. So
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Always had a good sound guy. And
It's
I
the
know,
first thing you'll notice.
I happen to know one that is moonlighting as a sound guy now sometimes. So just saying, you need to hire somebody. Okay, one more serious question. And we're gonna have a little more. If you are promoting your independent films, what is the better approach? Film festivals or conventions, and why is it conventions?
So I actually have a film that's making the festival circuit right now. And conventions are more fun. You get to meet amazing people. Film festivals really cater to the filmmakers. And the filmmakers are really just interested in being there to support their own film, and that's it. Very rarely do you get a filmmaker who sticks around, who watches all of the films, who really enjoys being there. A lot of filmmakers are conceited and only in it for themselves and not into the overall community vibe that we've been talking about. Conventions are way more laid back, way more low key. You can show up looking like this. But also, you get to talk to real people who just want to consume what you have to offer, you know, and talk about the real stuff that matters, you know, horror and horror films. You know, you go to film festivals, and a lot of times it's kind of like a hodgepodge of all these different genres, which is great, by the way. I highly suggest that you attend one, just because it exposes you to so many different things. But, you know, I don't know, for me, going to a convention like this one, my people, you know, like my friends, my family, we're here, you know, I'm having a cocktail, this is a great time. I'm making my art for you. I'm not making it for other filmmakers. That's it.
It's your audience, right? Vincent says, hey, look at, he said, if I can find 300 people, if I can find 10,000 people, if I go to Scarefest in Kentucky and there's 75,000 people, and they're those 75, let's say 10% of them go watch my film. That's your audience. That's the, you know, if you do an anime movie and you want to go to an anime convention, which are giant, that's your audience. So, as she said, you go to some film, I mean, I've been in a couple of film festival stuff, and it's all over the place. There might be a cartoon, there might be shorts, and all of a sudden I'm in that theater, and I've been there for 12 hours, and I'm watching everything that has nothing to do with anything. That my movie is nothing about, you know. But if you go to a horror convention, you know, a sci-fi convention, where that audience specifically is there for that, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, you're not really gonna find a huge audience at a film festival. It is very much the filmmakers there, sort of watching other films. I find that my mentality when I go to a film festival is I'm looking for projects that inspire me. I'm looking for people that I think are doing a great job. An actress does something really great in this movie. I want to go talk to her and figure out who her agent is, or who they work out of, or what city they talk out of. Wow, what a great cinematographer. Who is the cinematographer on this project? Oh, let me take down their name and number. They did great work. It's sort of like a recruiting. You know, you're going out, you're hoping to run into distributors or financiers or people like that who you want to do business relationships with. That's what the film festivals are there for. It's for networking. At a convention, I'm trying to access a fan base. I'm trying to get people who aren't there for anything but to experience a cool horror experience, who want to see cool things. So when they come by, you know, my table and they see a hockey mask, but it doesn't say Friday the 13th on it, they get curious. I tell them the story about how Never Hike Alone was made, how we got to where we were, and all of a sudden they were invested in our project as much as I am because they love the story behind it. They love the fact that this is something that I did out of the pureness of my heart, just not going after the money, but going after the fact that this is just what I wanted to do. So now, here's somebody who's jazzed up about my story, about my project, who is now in Nashua, New Hampshire. Now I have at least one fan here. Maybe that one fan goes off and shows 3 friends Never Hike Alone tomorrow on YouTube, and all of a sudden I have 4 fans in Nashua. By the time I come back around to the next convention, I have 40 people. And so now all of a sudden those 40 people will buy 40 Blu-rays, and those 40 Blu-rays will fund the next teaser that I'm going to do for the next installment. And that teaser is going to help me create the money for the next crowdfund that's going to help me raise $300,000 that then helps me create this cycle all over again. Go to a new place, and go to Bismarck, or go to Anchorage, or go down to Alabama, or Louisiana, or Scarefest, or any of these places, whether it's big or small. All you have to do is find that kernel, and that's where, if the conventions are where those fans are, you invigorate those fans to not only enjoy your project, but feel like you're a part of it. It becomes something special versus, oh, I saw Blumhouse's latest thing that was created by some director that I'll never meet because they don't come to conventions of this size. It's a different experience when you not only get to create something for a fan base, but you get to know that fan base. You know, those crowdfunding campaigns, all those those names that are listed on the back of our films, those are names I've come to recognize over the 8 years. I recognize the names that show up on every single film. When someone shows up and they say their name and I recognize it because it's on the list, that's a special experience for both of us, because I feel like I'm talking to one of my producers. And that's the way I experience it. I'm not sitting down meeting fans, I'm meeting my next producer. I'm meeting the next person who's gonna help me achieve what I wanna do, and I gotta have that equal amount of respect that they have for me and the art that I'm creating.
Yeah, I think with film festivals, you know, like you said, it's definitely a networking thing, and you can go and, like, we went to our first one in 2019, and, you know, two of the most impactful films on us were directed by these amazing two ladies who are the stars of her current film. You know, 6 years later, you know, it came full circle, and they have each put us in their films. So there's that aspect of it, but there's also the aspect of if you're a new filmmaker or an aspiring filmmaker, and you know, you have the Q&As at the end, and it's like, oh, that movie was pretty good. Like, and the person gets up there and they're like, yeah, it was one person in one room. I had 75 people working on the set, and it cost $65,000. And it's like, well, I can't do that. Like, I have these grand plans, and there's so much I want to do, and it can be so defeating as much as it can be inspiring. Going to a convention, because not only are you having people come up to you, but this gives you the opportunity to walk around and talk to people. And it's like, all right, you're an independent filmmaker. What did you do? How'd you do it? And you guys can kind of talk shop a little bit. And it's like, well, how did you get funding? You know, sometimes, you know, like with us, like my first film, we shot it in 3.5 hours, and it cost about $500 to do. And we shot it in my mom's backyard, and it was just like a bunch of us that wanted to make a movie together. And after that, like, it's like, this is great. We really had a lot of fun with it. We had a young lady who was a PA on it, and since then she has gone on to get a full scholarship to Emerson College. They only give one of these out a year, and it's for filmmaking. She discovered her passion working with us on our little movie. So, like, that's one of the rewarding things. And getting the chance to meet people who are like, you know, I've always wanted to do this, but, you know, I just, you know, I never thought I could, or, you know, I don't think my ideas are that good. It's like, how many times have you walked out of a movie thinking, wow, what a giant hunk of shit that was? And, you know, it's got a $200 million budget. Like, you're gonna tell me somebody thought really hard about the plot of Geostorm? Like, that's a sci-fi movie with a $200 million budget. You know, yeah, it's a lot of fun, but yeah, that's something that somebody could come up with. I mean, there are 7 Sharknadoes. Those kept getting funded. Your idea is not ridiculous. Your idea is not stupid. You know, I used to think when I was much younger and I wanted to be a writer, I was like, oh, my ideas are too far-fetched, too dumb. Then I read The Mangler by Stephen King, which is about a haunted laundry machine that becomes possessed and kills people. And I'm like, nothing I could write would be more ridiculous than that. So, as long as you're doing it, and this is the thing I tell people all the time, there may be 1 million people that do what you want to do, but nobody else has your voice. No one else can tell your story the way you can. So whether it's writing, directing, acting, get out there and do it. Like, that's the best way to get out there. And you can find people who will help you at these film festivals and at these conventions. And, you know, that's how we met. We met at Rocket Shop, you know, like 10 years ago.
It was in ancient times.
Yes, in the before times.
In the before times.
Oh, no, I'm done.
One thing I was going to add, I just want to kind of tell a little story about my first film festival experience. I've gone to the Stanley Film Festival, which is now the Overlook Film Festival. But I remember that being an incredibly powerful experience for me, because it was at a point in my career where I had done probably about 6 or 7 years. I moved out to LA, I was working in feature animation. I really wanted to be in, you know, live action horror. I didn't know how to get into it. And I went to this film festival, and it was amazing. They had like a bunch of stuff that was going to be releasing professional, like to the theaters, like months, years before it was actually ever going to come out. But the thing that inspired me was in the midst of all these larger projects that were there, I saw this group of kids who were just sort of so excited to be there. They all had the shirts of their movie, and they were going to screen their movie. I'm like, wait, those like. There's an accomplished director over here, and here's these kids who have never made a movie before, and they're at the same festival, they're showing it to the same audience, and how do I become these kids? And it was my first inspiration to be like, wow, I can actually create something and get into something like this. That's really special. And I would say as a filmmaker, you really got to do both, because with the conventions, you usually make a little bit of a sacrifice on presentation of the material. It's usually in a conference room like this. It's not necessarily built for the filmmaking experience, versus going towards something like one of my favorites, the Telluride Horror Show, getting to screen your film in the Sheridan Opera House, or go down the street in their giant auditorium in their high school that they play like the big movies that are coming out later that year. There is an experience of being a filmmaker and getting to sit in an audience that's there to watch. That's another thing too, is the ones that can get an audience that are like horror lovers. Like Telluride Horror Show does a really good job of that. Film Quest does a good job of that. Genre Blast, Crimson Nightmares, Boston Underground, stuff like those types of experiences, to get into a room filled with all horror fans wall to wall that are there to see it is such a great experience as a filmmaker, because you feel like you're sharing it with the people who it was meant to be seen. And in the convention, it's more about what's going on out there. Most of the people that are here, and I'm sure most of this would apply to most of you, you're here to meet some of the stars that are here this weekend. You want to talk to them. That's what your experience is about. You're not so much focused on the film stuff. Like, you may pop in to watch a movie just to kill some time, but it's not the main focus. And so as a filmmaker, you sort of have to balance those two worlds, where it's like, okay, I know my film is all about the film, but we're at a convention, it's about the experience out there, and how you can take, maybe if your film is going here and nobody sees it, but how can you make your film present out there? And so that way people get interested in it and want to come and check out your stuff.
For people who aren't familiar, tell them where the Overlook Film Festival takes place.
Now the Overlook Film Festival is in New Orleans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It was, so Stanley Film Festival started at the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, where Stephen King was originally inspired to write The Shining. It was there for 2 or 3 years, and then there was I guess they were doing construction, so they moved, so they went to the Mount Hood Overlook and did that for a year, and realized that the logistics of getting people in and out of there was a pain in the ass, so they moved it to, it's now in New Orleans, which is great.
I did not, I knew it was in
But it was like, the festival was like, it wasn't just a festival, they had a haunt experience that you could sign up for, that you were in this mystery to like solve this mystery, and one of the things was like, go knock on room like 237 at like 2 a.m. to get your next clue, and like Elijah Wood would open the door and hand you a clue, and then like close the door. Like, that's why I was, shit, this is an amazing experience. Like, you can walk up to Daniel Noah from Elijah Wood's company and have a conversation with him. I bumped into Lee Winnell outside, and we started talking about animation, because he had an animated project that he was doing. And so it's like, you never know who you're gonna bump into, because there's a little bit more of a higher cachet of people walking around. But those people came from the same place we did, and they want to have those conversations. And that's what's a great place to have. Same thing here at DC Investors. When you talk to Brett and his experience going through all these big films and being able to come here and talk about the independent stuff too. It's like, that's what makes this so special. It's the interaction and the stories you can have that will inspire you to go down your own journey.
So now you can go to the Overlook of New Orleans, get some crack, and get robbed. And Elijah Wood may still be there. I'm just teasing.
He's robbing you.
So can we open some questions to the?
Yeah, I was about to say, we're running a little low on time, so if anybody has any questions out there, please hit us with them now.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, because you guys were all talking. Let's say I want to make a film. Where do I find resources to find you guys? To find a good sound person. To find someone that has all these qualifications that aren't gonna take my wallet.
That's a good question.
Where I have found a lot of gigs myself. There were a lot of Facebook groups for specific things. Like, we're from Massachusetts. There's a group called Channel 14. It's all about like, hey, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. Or I am an actor. I just got out of Emerson College. Or I got my job on the holdovers from an ad on that space. So, like, there are a lot of different, there's also film collectives, depending on which state you live in.
Yeah, I'm in Mass, so I mean, that sounds like perfect idea for me. I'm looking always for these
Massachusetts Film
projects.
Collective, there's the Independent Film, Massive Independent film industry, there's a ton of these groups where, you know, there's always folks looking for like volunteers or like, hey, we're looking to collaborate. I'm a sound guy, I'm trying to get more, you know, something on my reel, or I'm a VFX person, I'm looking to get more stuff on my reel. I'll work with you for, you know, a low price or pro bono in some cases. And a lot of times, like what we do, we'll do work for work. Like, you know, you come do sound on my film and I'll come do sound on your film, or, you know, something along those lines. There's a lot of
industry
community
trade.
in Massachusetts.
Awesome.
Yeah. So like when we decided we wanted to break into film, we got on as many sets as we possibly could. You know, it's like, oh, I would love to make a film. Are you looking for help? You know, and going to film festivals and networking, meeting these filmmakers, because one word that all filmmakers like is free. So if you are willing to work with me for free, like, that's music to my ears. And a lot of people are willing to kind of mentor you, take you under their wing and show you the ropes a little bit. And you learn by doing and forming these relationships. And like Patrick said, you know,
To trade a little bit of the cash for the experience and the exposure, and you get all that soaking it in.
Exactly. So you're learning too in the process, like you're helping somebody make their film. But there's really the best teacher is doing, getting out there and doing it yourself. And then you make these connections, you make these friendships, and there's nothing more exciting than making films with your friends. So, like, it's just, you know, I strongly recommend doing that. Just
Great,
make
thank you.
friends.
Thank you.
Vincent?
Oh, I was going to say, echoing off that, I would say before you look for people to work for you, figure out who you can work for. Find people to go do some work first. I would say a 48-hour film project is a great way to get your foot in the door, because everyone's getting together that weekend and they need help. And so I remember, you know, very vividly, I did my first 48-hour film project. I saw some other projects I thought were really, really cool. Some people thought my stuff that was pretty good. And they're like, hey, we could really use your help on this next project. I went to work for them in the next project. I met the DP that helped me make Never Hike Alone. And so it's that type of experience, just like she was saying. It very much is, it's like go there to learn and go there to experience and work for other people. And eventually those people who you're going to create in your little group are going to form around you, because you're going to naturally gravitate towards one another and have similar ideas, and you're going to see people executing things on set, and the more people see you jumping in and helping, the more they're going to want to come and help you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more question, real quick.
Hey, real quick on that thing. I mean, I want to tell you, I never met this guy until this weekend, but I've been following him on Facebook and everything else, because he, first of all, I love this movie. I thought it was done very well, and for the amount of money that he did it for, and he had he had some really good actors in it, Tom Matthews and some other folks, and I was like, wow, there's a guy out there who works on big projects, but doing his own project, raised the money, got really good actors in it. So as a guy who's an actor, that's like, and I love horror, I was like, and I've been bugging him for years. I'm like, hey man, when are you gonna put me in your next movie? When are you gonna put? No, I know I'm not gonna get paid. I'm not gonna make a lot of money, but I want to work with him because I see what he does, you know. And so it's a great experience to be able to go. I watched the guy's movie, I love it, and now I'm gonna get to work with him hopefully soon, next year, the end of this year, something.
We'll get it going.
We're gonna get it. So that's all part of the experience. It's all part of the networking. It's like, wow, I really like this guy's movie, and I want to be in his next project. So, anyways, I just threw it up.
Excellent.
And to piggyback off that from the filmmaking side of it, it's like all of a sudden, okay, Brett is now in this, you know, he's in my paint palette. I can take a little bit of Brett and paint it on something and say like, great, he fits this perfectly. You know what I mean? It's like now I'm working with somebody who can fit this type of role, so now I can write something towards this type of role. A lot of the things we'll do is figure out what's actually in your wheelhouse, who's actually accessible. Like Never Hike Alone was, I had Andrew who played Kyle. He was a male model who was on the cover of romance novels, and I was like, a sexy dude. I could tramp around the forest and like take his shirt off. I know who I'm marketing this towards. It was like, I know that this will work. So that's
You kind of like cater the roles to if you've got a palette
what
of people.
do I have around me that's at my disposal? I don't have to go too far and like search, you know, high and low for all these. They're right in front of me. I can take advantage of this thing that's right in front of me. Not take advantage, but like use that opportunity. that's the way we're approaching it.
And not many people know, but he turned down that male model role.
I did. You're absolutely correct.
Too sexy.
Last question, anybody?
Last question, like single word answer if you can. We're really almost out to yes or no.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the moderator over there and everybody on the stand. Yeah, no, listen, and, you know, please come. Everybody's got a booth out there. Vince, you got a booth. I got a booth.
Dead of Winter's in the main hall. Vincent and Brett are in the celebrity hall.
So even
Come
if-
check us out.
Yeah.
Come see our stuff.
Yeah.
My movies are on sale. Vince's movies are on sale. Get Brett to sign something.
Yeah.
Just come have a good time. Come hang out.
Yes.
Be fun.
And if you want to learn to curse and look good doing it, come see my
Yeah, that's.
with humor. She will. Anyways, yes. I don't know why I'm still doing jokes. All right. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.